Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of my favorite Halloween movies. I'm your host, Helpful Angel 30, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 1996 cult classic The Craft, starring Rachel True, Robin Tooney, Neve Campbell, and Farazua Bulk. I know I've mispronounced her name, but like it is like yeah. So the craft starts with, ingredients being put together to like make up some sort of spell. Uh in the group there's Rochelle, Bonnie, and Nancy. And then it cuts to the title card, and then immediately jump into we immediately jump into Sarah. She just moved to a new town. She was living in Seattle, but now she's in a new town. Homeless guy like just knocks on the door and comes in. He's like, hey, like, you're in danger, this, that, and the third, and it freaks her out. So she's dips off to go uh to this Catholic school. And so, upon going to the Catholic school, uh, she's in class, zoning out. The French teacher's like, hey, this this is how you say it, this is how you do it. And Sarah's not paying attention. She's, levitate, like putting a pencil on her desk, trying to keep it still, and like not paying attention. She, you know, makes the pencil stand up by herself and is like turning it by itself, to where Bonnie's like shocked at what she saw. She was like, hey, Nancy, I think we need to get, I think we found our fourth. And Nancy's like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so Sarah is new to the school. She meets, this dude named Chris who, starts out nice. And he's like telling Sarah about like the three girls, what I'm saying? Like how they're weird, how they're weird, this, that, and the third. How they're weird, they're outcasts, and like how they're freaks. And like Sarah's like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Then she meets, Bonnie, Rochelle, and Nancy. And so, like, just, walking. And I didn't catch this on my first time watching this, but, like, when Nancy told uh, Sarah that, he, like, Chris creates like disease, like spreads disease. Like that was a cue to let like the audience know that like Nancy and Chris hooked up, and Chris like gave her something. You feel me? Like, and so they all go to this occult shop, this spiritual shop where Lyora, the shopkeeper, like gives them like candles and like spell books and all this stuff. And Bonnie Bonnie automatically, she's like, hey, you know I don't know you, but could you, put this in your bag? And like, Sarah's like, yeah, no, yeah, no. And so Nancy was like, you know, being smug as always. Sarah, she meets the shopkeeper, Lyora, and, you know, they hit it off. And so she's like, and Lyra like gives her a book for beginners. She's like, hey, here you go, and they leave. So upon leaving the shop, Sarah bumps into like the homeless guy with the snake again, and he's trying to warn her that she's in danger. She doesn't know what she's getting herself into. So after that, she winds up, running across the street, makes it, but winds up like her and the other girls winds up, you know, causing the death of the homeless dude. And then they run to where this clearing where it was like green grass and a couch and a red couch. And so they were like, Sarah was freaking out. She was like, "Hey, I just wanted him to stop. I didn't want him to die." She was like, "But you were thinking it, and like we were thinking it, and so it's like we made it happen." And so they like bust out the candles and all that stuff. They were like, Sarah's like, "What are y'all doing?" He was like, and Rochelle or Bonnie, they were like, we're practicing witchcraft and all that stuff, like, because we're witches. And it's like, Sarah was like, you guys are weird. And then, like, dips out. Rochelle was like, she'll be back. And it's like, will she though? Like, then it cuts to, like, Rochelle, like failing her, high dive due to her bully, uh, Bonnie, like getting corrective surgery for her, burn scars on her back, and Nancy, her home life is like she got a creep stepdad, and like her mom is like constantly getting like verbally abused by her stepdad, and like she got a hole in her ceiling where water like drips down from her ceiling and hits her in the face. So like, yeah, but after that, it cuts to you know it cuts to them just taking a trip and practicing like getting all the ingredients together. They they swear an oath like hey, like you would rather taste the end of this dagger than to leave the circle. And it was like, yeah, and like they kiss and they prick their finger and like each donate a drop of their blood to like the chalice, and then they be like, hey, I drink of my sisters for this type of power, this type of power. And so after that, you know each one of their what they ask for starts to come true with the help of the magic that they acquired. Like Rochelle's bully gets the Sarah gets a lock of Rochelle's bully's hair and braids it into her hair, and uh, so that that was one of the many telltale signs of, hey, you should not do this spell. And like I said, they all, like Rochelle, she wants like nothing but love and to like the power to like ignore her, like love those who don't love her. Sarah wants, you know, her crush Chris to like fall madly in love with her. Bonnie was like, make me beautiful on the outside as well as in. And Nancy, she just wanted all the power. So after that, everybody goes on about their day. Rochelle, with her bully, her hair starts falling out. Uh, Bonnie, her scars like magically, peel away. Just like dead skin, just peel away. And Nancy, like through sheer coincidence, like her stepdad like gets a heart attack and winds up passing away and winds up leaving her and her mom like a substantial amount of money. So they actually buy like, I don't want to say a condo, but a condo at the very top of the condo where, you know, Sarah, Rochelle, and, you know, Bonnie, they go to visit her and they wind up, uh, Sarah actually winds up performing a spell called Glamour, which actually fools, it's designed to fool the people affected by the spell to like change. It's basically a disguise spell for like the person who casts it. They can change their appearance to, disguise themselves as anybody. And so she practices it on herself. She makes her hair blind and her eyes like blue or brown. So yeah, and they basically, have a good time. Um, cut to they wind up going back to the shopkeeper, the shopkeeper, and so they want to do big girl spells like invoking the spirits, and so like after that, like after all of that, uh Sarah tells, Lorelai, like, hey, how do I undo a love spell? Like, how do I undo a love spell? And Lorelai is like, hey, like, you open the floodgates. Like, it's best just to let it ride. You can't undo a love spell. It's just to let it, run its course. And it's like, Nancy, craving more power, she was like, here you go. She was like, she was like, I want to invoke the spirits. She was like, I don't think that's a good, Lorelai was like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, you know, the rule of three times three, like whatever you dish out, it's going to come back to you like three and, 3 times fold, you know, of that. And so, like, you know what I'm saying? And so they wind up going to the beach. They wind up, doing a little chant uh, to where, you know, it works. Nancy gets struck by lightning. They all, like, wait up on the beach for her. She winds up walking on water. Yeah, she winds up walking on water, but it's a whole bunch of sharks like washed up on the beach, and they, just so happen to be dead. And after that, Sarah winds up talking to Nancy. She's like, "Hey, like Lorelai was right. You gotta like, I just don't want anything bad to happen. Like, she was right about the 3 times 3 rule. Like, whatever we, do will come back to us, threefold. And it's like, we're just going about this the wrong way. Like, we're using our powers wrong. Like, and like, Rochelle and Bonnie, they were, her followers, and so they laugh it off. Nancy's like, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. Like, if you want to leave the circle, just say so. Like, you know what I'm saying? She was like, I'm not saying I want to leave the circle. Why does it always have to be a fight with you? She was like, that because that's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh. And so after that, um, Sarah and Chris, they wind up spending time together, and Chris winds up attacking Sarah. Sarah winds up going to Rochelle's house where they meet Bonnie, uh, Rochelle, where Sarah winds up, meeting Rochelle, Bonnie, and Nancy. She winds up telling them, like, hey, like, I looked into his eyes and there was nothing there. And Nancy, already, still drunk on power, she goes to the party, you know, uses the glamour on Chris to where, like, she's making out with her herself. Like, Chris is making out with Nancy, who is under the effect of the glamour, because right now he's thinking that she's Sarah when she's actually Nancy. So, like, Chris was already intoxicated, so like that ain't help at all. They all, Rochelle, Sarah, and Bonnie, they rock up to the party. They go upstairs. Well, Sarah goes upstairs. Uh, Rochelle meets her bully, who's like wearing this ugly wig because all her hair fell out. Sarah winds up like finding Nancy and Chris together, and like and spilt the beans on, like, hey, like, you scared him. Like, Nancy was like, hey, did you know she's a witch too? And like, and so like he was like, hey, like, I'm sorry. And she was like, oh, you're sorry, sorry my ass. Like, bruh, like, you're gonna quit using women for your own personal benefit, treating them wrong. treating them like objects, and she winds up killing them. She winds up killing Chris, and to where Sarah's like, "Hey, like." She was telling her dad, she was like, "Hey, I didn't know this was gonna happen." Da 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 da. And so, like, like, she is, at school, she can't focus. She winds up going to the bathroom. Here's where, like, you knew something was wrong when the lock on the bathroom stall slid open by itself, to where Nancy, Bonnie, and Rochelle like confront her, and she was like, "Hey, like the cops came to my house, mine too." She was like, "I ain't say nothing." She was like, "How have you been sleeping?" She was like, you know, Nancy was like, "Hey, like, and please don't do any more spells on me." She was like, which caused like Sarah to be like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "I can read your mind." She was like I can see what you dream about, and this, that, and the third. She was like, "Hey, you might as well like want to leave the school, leave the country, maybe even the planet. I don't know." She was like, Bonnie and Rochelle was like, "Hey, how have you been sleeping?" You're like, "Sweet dreams," and Nancy was like, if a witch betrayed her coven, like they'd kill her back in the day, like, and so which caused her to break, like Sarah to break down even more, to where like she went like back to the Lorelai's shop, the occult shop, and so you know she was like, "Hey," she wound up telling Lorelai like, "Hey, this is what it is. Like, what you said was true. Like, Nancy's drunk off power. Uh, Bonnie and Rochelle are her minions, and it's oh my gosh, it's crazy." She was like, "Come with me." She was like, "This temple was built like." She was like, "This temple was built in the shop." She was like, "We can, evoke spirits again." She was like, you know, Sarah was like, "Hey, like, it took Nancy to a dark place. It made her crazy." Lorelai was like, "Hey, she took it to a dark place. We can use that as light." You know what I'm saying? They used the glamour to like blow up the building to where it looks like the building is blown up, but it's actually not. It's them using the glamour. Sarah winds up running away back to her house, and you could tell something was already off because she got a call from Nancy saying that like her parents were in a plane crash, and not only that, but like snakes had started appearing out of nowhere. Like they were just in the grass, on the banisters, coming in the house. Frogs and insects were just everywhere, coming out the toilet. They were coming out the sink. And it's like just rats were like just coming out of everywhere. And it was like, it was freaking her out to where she locked herself the in the shower, to where Nancy popped up and was like, "Hey, like, if I was just as pathetic as you, I'd off myself ages ago." And it turns the shower on to where Sarah like walks downstairs, and to find Rochelle, Bonnie, and Nancy like hovering over her. And so Nancy like cuts Sarah's wrist and tells her to run. And so like Sarah winds up collapsing on the ground. Sarah winds up collapsing on the ground, like not knowing what to do. She basically like lies very still on her floor and invokes the spirits to where Bonnie and Rochelle they go to like check on her and then they find that when they look in the mirror they find that Rochelle is losing her hair and Bonnie is, she's got scars covering her face, mirroring, you know, how Bonnie wanted to get rid of her scars and Rochelle wanted her bully's hair to fall out. And so after they see that in the mirror, they peace out, they dip out. Sarah winds up invoking the spirits for good, for, for good, to where she winds up, uh, what was it, using the glamour on Nancy, causing her to like fall out and causing like bugs and like her fingers to like turn into snakes and her hair to like turn into snakes. It was crazy to where like she was like driven crazy and like and then Sarah was like, hey, like somebody's upset with you. Like he says like you've abused the power that he's giving you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta pay for that. And so he's like, hey, she was like, Sarah was like, hey, like first things first, like I bind you from like doing harm to yourself or others. And so Nancy snaps and tries to kill Sarah. Sarah winds up disappearing only to like kick her, you know, across the house into a mirror to where she does the binding spell. After that, you know, Bonnie and Rochelle, they wind up, coming back to the house, later, you know, that afternoon to apologize. And it seems like the spell that Bonnie had used to get rid of her scars, it seems like it came back because like she was like fully covered up. So like, well, nice little twist there. And you know, turns out that Bonnie and Rochelle they don't have their powers anymore because you know Sarah was the one true witch like who actually had magical abilities, and so she was able to take Bonnie and Rochelle's powers away. And so after that half half-assed apology by Bonnie and Rochelle, they wind up sucking up and like, hey, if you ever want to chant or do the corners again, like let us know. He was like, Sarah was like, hey, like I'll let you know, like hold your breath for my call. And it was like She was like, I bet you don't have any powers. And then Sarah was like, what you say? And then like lightning strikes a tree and then like almost crushes them. It like blocks the driveway to like let them know like, hey, I'm done with y'all, like going about y'all business. And she was like, hey, careful, y'all don't end up like Nancy. Cut to Nancy's in a mental hospital, like just still tweaking, talking about some I can fly, I can fly. One of the nurse like sedates her with a syringe. She was like, I could fly, I could fly, I can fly. And like apparently that binding spell worked because like she's literally bound in on her bed from doing harm to others and or herself. But that is not all. There is a deleted scene on YouTube where like Sarah, Bonnie, and Rochelle they're talking and like Sarah's talking to them about like the binding spell and like Nancy like came back and she was like hey, you know, before anybody ever knew you, I knew you. You were invisible, like you were the only black kid, you were only black girl in like the white neighborhood, this, that, and the third, da 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 da. And you, Bonnie, like you were a freak with all those scars. Da, 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 da. No one would ever look at you. This, that, and the third. And like, soon as she turned to like Sarah, she was like, "Hey, and you, like, don't you ever do this to me again. Don't ever like bind me. This, that, and the third ever again." And Sarah winds up running away, and like that deleted scene showed me like first of all like you gotta be like you gotta be a different type of person to like use secure insecurities of other people to like manipulate them into like doing what you want them to do like like if you thought Nancy was unhinged like in the movie, like she was really unhinged in the deleted scene. Like, but that's why I like The Craft because number one, it is basically a story of betrayal, toxic friendship, and witchcraft. Where Bonnie, Rochelle, and Nancy, they were just looking for a fourth. They weren't interested in getting and being Sarah's friend. They were interested in where like it would take them. Like they were interested in their own goals, their own dreams, their own desires, and it wound up backfiring on them because she was actually like Sarah was actually the real witch with magical abilities with a magical heritage, whereas they were just along for the ride. So yeah, so but yeah, that is 1996's The Craft. of my favorite Halloween movies. I'm your host, Helpful Angel 30. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.